Don't look now, but UCLA football is tearing it up in recruiting. The Rams have adjusted their spending to focus on one priority, protecting Matthew Stafford. And we'll take a moment to consider if the Kings should bring back goalie Cam Talbott. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. And so it is June 8th, 2024. Welcome back to the Sanctum Sanctorum of LA Sports. And if you like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means comment. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Dodgers 2, Yankees 1 in 11 innings. Now look, I realize I'm older than a number of you. And by number, I mean a lot, maybe millions. But every time I see the Dodgers in Yankee Stadium, my blood starts to boil. Because I watched 3 World Series with those two teams when I was a kid. That's an old school rivalry. It is not lost on the players. Even though the last time they were in a World Series was 1981. So when Teoscar Hernandez drives in the game-winning 2 runs with a double, oh, believe me, I was happy as hell. Meanwhile, Sparks 81, Dallas 73. Sparks are 3-7, and to be honest, I didn't even bother to look at the stats. I am done talking about the Sparks until they win more often. I'm done reading about their fashion updates. I'm done reading about this mean girl crap in the WNBA. Start winning, I'll start talking. Meanwhile, today, the Dodgers are at the Yankees at 4:35. Gavin Stone is 6-2 with a 2.90 ERA. Nestor Cortez is 3-4 with a 3.46 ERA. And Angel City FC is playing Gotham FC at 9:30 a.m. Now, the New York team has not lost in their last 6 matches. By the way, quick side note. We all know that the Lakers were talking turkey with Dan Hurley about becoming their head coach. It is highly unlikely we're going to hear any news on the Lakers coaching search until the end of the NBA Finals. The NBA likes to put a kibosh on major transactions during the finals. So unless the Lakers want to get cute and steal thunder from the Celtics, I wouldn't totally put it past them, frankly. We're not going to know about the progress between the Lakers and Hurley. Most of you who watch this show regularly know I am a USC football fan, but I am not going to be openly disrespectful to UCLA when they succeed. And to be real, they had a pretty damn good recruiting week. They landed 3 solid players to their recruiting class of 2025. And the college football website / YouTube channel On3, and they're pretty reputable in my opinion, believes that the Bruins are on the precipice of becoming a top 25 recruiting class for 2025. They have UCLA currently ranked 29th. Now, if you're a Bruins fan, I will give you time to grab a tissue because this must be an extremely joyous time for you. And I don't want to take away from that. This goes back to something I have been saying for months about new coach Deshaun Foster. The more he points to a photo of Chip Kelly and says, guys, I'm not him, the better off his version of the program is going to be. Recall, there were a lot of reasons that the fans really did not appreciate Chip Kelly, and his disdain for traditional recruiting was one of them. Absolutely. The only level of hatred that I have seen that Kelly had for traditional recruiting, the only level of hatred that is worse than that is the level of hatred that my ex-wife had for me. I've never seen hatred like that. But Chip Kelly's hatred for traditional recruiting, oh, it comes really close. Now Foster, who wasn't even hired until Kelly tried to punk UCLA by leaving in February, Foster's almost landed their first top 25 recruiting class since 2018. We mentioned the 3 recruits that the Bruins landed last week. They are apparently in the running for as many as 7 more good recruits. Now, I tried to avoid talking too much about uncommitted recruits because they're high school kids, right? And it's always a little weird to speak of minors. One, they're flighty. Two, they seek to hype themselves. So this whole thing about sitting in front of a cardboard table with a bunch of baseball caps and faking grabbing one and then throwing on the UCLA one, I don't find that to be even remotely interesting at all. But I want to give you two names to keep an eye on if you're a Bruins fan. One is four-star safety Jaden Hudson of Pittsburgh, California. Not only is it four-star safety, but among the competition to land him is USC. And then, speaking of the Trojans versus the Bruins, while USC has oddly lost its once deep connection with modern-day high school, UCLA is trying to land the 19th best wide receiver in the nation in high school, Marcus Harris. Now understand, the Trojans are pretty happy with their recruiting class for 2025. But it's damn nice to see UCLA actually getting after it once again instead of just relying on the transfer portal and just throwing it out on the field and hoping to make it a team. Why free agent athletes choose to come to Los Angeles tends to be for a variety of reasons, most of them obvious. Weather. There's always cool stuff happening in LA. And most of the teams are exceptionally run. For new Rams guard Jonah Jackson, he said, quote, "Every day is beautiful, but number 9, unquote." In other words, he wanted to block for Matthew Stafford again. Both were in Detroit for Jackson's rookie year. Now, the lineman isn't going at full speed for the moment. He had a knee injury late last year. But trust me, it wasn't just the weather. He couldn't wait to come to LA. Just a couple of spots over from Jackson, by the way, on the right side of the offensive line, Kevin Dotson enjoyed a breakout season in his first year with LA, but that was primarily for one reason. Pittsburgh wanted him to play on the left side. He prefers the right. The Rams obliged him. All of a sudden, he blows up. He allowed just 8 quarterback hits last year. Not sacks, just touching Stafford. His run blocking grade was second in the league. Pro Football Focus, or POOF, wound up ranking him as the best guard in the NFL. But was he? See, the Rams paid him as if he were, but then Piff comes back and they drop Dotson all the way down to 12th. He's not even a top 10 guard to these guys anymore. So you might ask, what the hell happened? Why'd you drop him? They don't say. Maybe they downloaded a new calculator or, I don't know. Who's to tell with these analytics nerds? But the reason that I bring up both Jackson and Dotson is to point out something that's very interesting with the Rams to me. As you might imagine, with the retirement of Aaron Donald, the trading of Jalen Ramsey a year ago, the Rams have changed the way that they utilize their cap space. Now, it's not a complete reversal where, you pay most of your money to about 4 or 5 elite players. Now the big money deals are just going to 3. So it's not that big of a change. And those 3 players, by the way, are Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and the recently retired Aaron Donald. They still have to pay off his contract. But where does the rest of the money go? See, before it was like 4 or 5 massive contracts at minimum wage, everybody else. Now what they have is a little bit of extra money. They could spread the wealth a little bit or focus on priorities. And they absolutely focused on priorities. What would the Rams want to value most after its quarterback? Protecting him. If you remember, 2 seasons ago, Matthew Stafford got hurt and the Rams only won 5 games. It is absolutely imperative that they protect Stafford at all costs, and so they have spent the 4th most amount of any NFL team on their offensive line, which would make sense. But they've also spent the 5th most on tight end. which is bizarre because you may like Tyler Higbee, but do you think he's the 5th best tight end in the game? Of course not. You shouldn't anyway. Now, the defense is going to lead to some interesting questions financially in the future. The Rams' defensive line is super young, and because of that, they are all playing on rookie-level contracts. It is going to be very interesting to see who deserves the bag in a couple of years. And for that matter, the Rams have rarely paid handsomely for linebackers. Ernest Jones is a tackling machine out there. And often the Rams run a 5-1-5, which means that Jones is the only linebacker there, and he's expected to go sideline to sideline to make plays, which he's been doing. But what do you do with him? You don't like paying your linebackers. We know that the Kings are bringing back Big Save Dave Rittich on a team-friendly contract. And the Keys phrase regarding every contract that the Kings are going to be handing out this offseason will have to include the phrase team-friendly because they are that pressed against the salary cap. Would bringing back goalie Cam Talbot be considered team-friendly? You tell me. He was paid just $1 million last year. The Athletic pegged his value at $1.8 million, which isn't much more, but compared that to $1 million, in a sense, that's kind of a steal if he is actually worth $1.8 million. The Athletics analytics people said that Talbot's save percentage and his goals save above expected was at its highest mark in 7 years. Now, to the naked eye, it's a different story. You know, if you watch Kings hockey as I did, Talbot was up and down all year long. Now, part of this is all the Kings' fault. When he was originally signed, the idea was not to have him be an everyday goalie. And yet he wound up being an everyday goalie. If you tell me at 36 years old that Talbot should only be a backup, I absolutely wouldn't argue with you. But there is a problem that the Kings face whether they bring back Talbot or hand the lion's share of the work to Rittich. The 1-3-1 defensive system, as we've been talking about at length for months, is designed to keep the opposing team from getting speed going into the Kings zone. Therefore, if you keep them from getting speed, you keep them from getting shots, especially quality shots. If the Kings switch their scheme, and there has been talk that they might, and more shots get on net, are either of these goalies, are any of these goalies ready for such an onslaught? See, here's the ugly little secret about being a Kings fan, as I've been since I was a child. They have a really ugly history of goaltending. Jonathan Quick was the unicorn. He was the exception to the rule. We hadn't seen anybody like that in net since the days of Rogie Vachon. And most of you are like, who the hell is Rogie Vachon? Exactly. People are starting to find out that Jonathan Quick is not going to be easy to replace. Amidst the tittering and tattering of MLS fans about the latest Galaxy rumor, which, by the way, is unlikely to come true, but so be it. It may not. There actually was player movement. The Galaxy sent defender Marcus Ferkranus to Australia. I know I mispronounced his name. I apologize up front. But he's got worse problems than whether or not I pronounce his name right. He's going to Australia. The entire continent used to be a prison cell. That sounds like about as much of a banishment as you can get. Has anybody equated Australia with high-quality soccer? Now, he's heading to the Brisbane Roar FC. He's been with the Galaxy for 7 years. And honestly, he never rose above Los Dos. For those of you who don't know what Los Dos is, that is the Galaxy's second-tier club. In other words, the guy's been with them for 7 years, never played for the actual Galaxy. The Galaxy do not play this weekend, by the way, because most soccer clubs and their leagues are participating in an international break. Defender Jalen Neal was the only Galaxy player summoned to international duty, and he'll be playing for Team USA. Meanwhile, 5 LAFC players were summoned to international duty, but considering Olivier Giroud has yet to play for LAFC, it's more like 4. Now, Giroud's going to play for France. Meanwhile, Denis Bouanga joins Gabon. If you ask me to point to that nation on a globe, I don't have a damn clue where it is. Christian Olivier, wow, I'm really blowing it right now. Christian Oliveira, my apologies. Christian Oliveira joins Uruguay. Midfielder Timothy Tillman joins Neal with the Americans, and defender Maxime Chanot joins Luxembourg. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Are you a happy UCLA fan now that they are actually building a bona fide program again? Are you cool with the Rams focusing so much money on keeping Matthew Stafford in one piece? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.